KSW.
Yeah, I tell you, man, it's really awesome to see guys like us move on in life and try to figure it out. And have families, because now you have a kid,
Mm-hmm.
You have a wife. So these are complex relationship kind of things to have to do when we tend to hyper focus as geeks and really be in our own world. How are you? And you also have a pretty big career as well. How are you adjusting to being like that, a good father and a good husband?
That stuff's coming easy, but I mean, they were still in the beginning. I've been with my wife 15 years. We've been married.
Wow, it's been that long.
Yeah, we've been married 8 now, but we've been together 15. But in the beginning, I was like, how did I pull this off? Because my history before her was always like giving flowers to girls too early and then just going, oh, dude, I don't like you like that. There's a lot of that before I was able to find a girl that went, oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. That's what my wife was like when I first did the flower thing. And, so to be able to hold on, 15 years later, I still look at her and go, why are you here? You could have done so much better.
It's nice to know that part of you never changes.
And every once in a while, I'll hear about the dude she grew up with, like that stayed in town, but he's super rich and kind of runs the town. And it's like, that sounds like a nice setup. You should have done that.
Oh man, that's great.
The record is so great just to listen to the stories that you share, because you're in Seattle and you're sharing stories about going to strip clubs in Seattle. That's question number one. Which strip clubs are you talking about? I'd love to ask.
Oh God, I can't even remember the name. I've gone to the big mainstream ones, but and then in Portland, I go to like the really scary kind of heavy metal ones. Like seeing a girl dance to Iron Maiden Killers, like that doesn't happen anywhere else but up here,
And then one of my other favorite stories you were sharing, you were talking about how you stopped smoking weed, but you shared stories of, actually, speaking of Portland, where there was a weird incident involving you because you were working into your routine about smoking weed so that way you could get free weed from people.
Yeah. Well, and then I met this guy who actually has a little bit of fame up in this area for being like the local stoner, but he has one eye, and we found that out while I was super, super high. He just pulls his eye out.
Oh, man.
And that becomes...
That's just wrong.
Yeah, that becomes the story in my act. He loves it, though. I had to get his approval, so I write the joke, and I'm doing it, and I come back up here to this area, and I have another comic. I go, hey, can you ask Ganja John? That's the guy's name.
That's his name.
Can you ask him if it's cool that I'm talking about him? And the guy was like, is it cool? That's the best thing ever. He goes, my dad's so proud of me now. You talked about me on Conan. I'm like, yeah, but I'm throwing you under the bus as this giant stoner. But his dad's still happy.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
They're probably listening. Yeah.
Dad's probably like, it's so good that your stonership has finally got, at least he's gotten you some notoriety.
Right.
I'm sure Dad probably figured that out about his son a while ago.
Right.
And do you know how do we know how he lost his eye? That's always a wonder when someone's like,
and that's
a major
that's on
thing.
Me. I got to know that. I should know that.
I just have a feeling like, did his recreational activities lead to him being so baked that somehow he left his eye somewhere?
I think it was a kid thing. I think he was really young, or
like maybe a running with sticks kind of a thing?
Yeah. I mean, because in my joke I say, use words in the future. Like, don't just pull it out. Like, tell people using words. Like, hey, I lost my eye. Then I can say, like, proper response, well, don't play darts, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Ha.
Now, I'm going to do this for you, Vicky, because Vicky is a huge Deadpool fan. I mean, she flips out and trips out. And here you are, you're a guy involved in the creative process. That's the one thing. Did you ever have aspirations to write comic books ever? Because that's you're a stand-up comic, you love metal, and you read comic books. But to write comic books, that's pretty trippy.
No, I mean, it's only been the last 10 years or so where I've actually realized it. You know what? My problem with a lot of the things I do, like acting too, I just sort of fell into, is I never thought that was something that people could do. Like nobody ever came to my high school and said, hey, you can write comic books, you can act, you can, I just always thought that those were the lucky people and those are people that were born into that. And I've just sort of fallen into that. Like the comic book thing came through being at Comic-Con every year and just being such a fanboy, and then also knowing how to write. These people knew that I had a history. So, but then I also had to prove myself a little. So I did an independent comic about 7 years ago. Last Christmas, I did for Image, and so that got our feet in the door with Marvel, and so we've just been talking to them for the last couple of years. But even when now, like when I'm signing. Or when I get an issue delivered to me and it's got my name on the front, it's still, with all the stuff I've done, that it's still super, super cool.
I would to see your name right there.
Yeah, to be in that world and to be in the working for Marvel and cashing checks that say Marvel on it is just super cool.
That's very cool. I have to
somebody who's been reading since 8 years old.
Yeah, I could appreciate how cool that is. And the flip side of that though is it's one thing when you write your own book. If you write your own book, it's your own thing. Who's going to give you grief for how you've done it because either they like it or don't? But when you write for a character that's well established, like a Deadpool, how's that been? And with Twitter and all the social networking, you can't really run from the people that want to be mean.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't let those people get me down on anything. Those people, always have something to say, and whether it's my stand-up or acting or anything else. So, and with the character, I just knew that if I delivered the book that I want to read, that would pay off. That there would be more people that would go, well, that's it's the Deadpool I wanted, and because I'm a fan too. That's the way I always approached it. Was if I just write a funny book with good action and Deadpool's being Deadpool. Like if you really changed the character, then I would have really lost people. People would have gotten mad. But I did what's great about the character. The guy's like a smartass, so I have him, killing people, but then saying funny things as he's doing it.
Yeah, and
that's the book.
And of course, you were in a Marvel movie as well. And it's unfortunately the franchise,
the best Marvel movie.
Yeah, I know it's a franchise. I love Fantastic Four. So if somebody said to me I would get to be in the movie, I'd be like, this is fantastic. And you were in it, and I
was in the second one too. So I had already seen the terrible first one.
Yeah.
But when you get that offered, there's no way you can say no to that as a fanboy, And
when you're hopeful that, you know what, maybe they'll figure it out.
You
for
always
the movie
are.
too.
Yeah, you always. Whatever you do, you hope that it's going to turn out okay.
Yeah.
But I wish I was in the Avengers, but no, instead I'm in Rise of the Silver Surfer.
You've had some awesome moments, that have been those like, wow, this is a really cool moment as a fan, because I know, getting to do that song Metal by Numbers, and you have metal luminaries that are up on, recording with you. I got to imagine there's been lots of great moments. What's one that first pops into your head is like, wow, I can't believe I got that opportunity to do that?
It's still one of my favorite things I've done is Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
So, to be in a Rob Zombie, to be in a horror movie, get killed in a horror movie, to be a horror nerd growing up, and then that's always the fantasy. Even if you don't want to be an actor, you're like, oh, I'd love to be killed by Jason,
Yeah.
And so I had Jason showing me how to take a bullet. It was Kane Hodder.
That's awesome.
Who played Jason in 4 or 5, I think.
The best Jason.
Yeah. And he showed me how to take a bullet, which was so cool. We went outside and he's like, the gun's going to be really loud. I just want you to be prepared for it. So he shot me in the face in the parking lot before we went in and did it for real.
We need to do a run through.
No, because you had to, when Rob didn't want me going, oh my God, having a reaction that's not cool, when we did it for reals.
The BJ Shea Morning Experience on 99.9 KISW.